Alright, so I've got a Raspberry Pi Zero W, and basically I'll show you how to solder the headers on, the pins in, without using a breadboard. So basically I just put the pins in some packing peanuts because that's the only foam I could find. But you want something just to hold the pins so that they don't move while you're soldering and they stay straight, because you don't want your pins going in sideways or crooked at all. It'll make it hard to connect. So if you have something that you can push the pins into to hold while you solder the Pi on, that'll work much better than some packing peanuts, but this is just a quick and easy way to do it. Then we'll take our soldering iron, and this is just a standard Weller soldering iron. It's a pretty fine tip, so yours is probably a little bit bigger, and you can see there's a lot of black. It's oxidized and not very shiny, so we'll just wipe it on this wet sponge, and almost immediately you can see the shine. So we'll grab some solder, and you can tell the tip's hot because immediately the solder flowed onto the tip. So we have good heat. Now, when I was talking about touching both the pad and the pin at the same time, I'll try to show you here. But basically, the tip of your soldering iron should touch the pin and the pad at the same time. So if you think of them as being right next to each other at 90 degrees, you go into that corner with the tip so that you're touching both at the same time. And then from there, just introduce a little bit of solder to the tip, and if you have good heat, you can press it against the other side of the lead and against the pad, and solder should flow directly down and into the right spot. So let's have a look at those two quick little solder joints I did. And you can see it takes like 1 second of heat applied and then 1 second of solder applied. And let's have a look. Focus. So the solder joints look pretty good. They aren't splotchy, they aren't all over the place. Most importantly, it doesn't look like a cold solder joint, which is where one piece isn't heated up enough, which is what was happening in your case. So yeah, give that a try and just work your way down. I'd suggest starting at one end and then doing the other end just to tack it in place, and that'll make the middle pins a lot easier to do. Alright, I realized that in the other video I wasn't very close, so it was probably a little bit hard to see when I was doing some of the solders. So here's a little bit closer, and the tip of your soldering iron should touch the pad and the lead at the same time. And then when you push the solder in, the solder just has to touch the opposite end of the lead if there's enough heat. So here we'll touch both together and then push a little bit of solder in. And we'll do it again just to get another clear view. Touch both and push solder in. And that's all it takes.